Excuse me. Hi everybody, welcome to StashBlaster Quilts. My name is Maria, and I am here to help you make more quilts in less time with less stress. I hadn't realized that the streaming window wasn't open. Just in case you didn't know, a little technical thing about doing these live streams is that there's a delay from when I'm saying things until it shows up on the YouTube screen. So I was looking at the YouTube screen and wasn't paying any attention to the fact that I wasn't showing up. After I pushed the button, I was like, what is going on? So obviously, if this is your first time here, welcome, and you have now learned I am not really big on the tech stuff. I'm not really good at that. But you are more than welcome here. You can watch me be silly and strange and have a good time while you're here. So anyway, I am a professional organizer by trade, so I always start with the tip of the day. And the reason for this one is actually because one of my guild mates, Judy. Now, Judy's often here, so Judy, if you're here, say hi. But yesterday we had a guild meeting, and she brought me some stuff. So I thought I'd share it with you. She brought me a shoebox full of 2-inch squares, and another shoebox full of 2-inch squares turned into twosies. So what does this have to do with organizing? Well, the shoe boxes are great. But that's not why. Oh, and I went to my free table. I've talked to you guys about our free table, and I found another box all labeled 2-inch squares. So the tip is actually not about the things that I have here, but why I have them. In talking with Judy, she said that she has decided that she doesn't want to keep things less than 2.5 inches. So that's your jelly rolls and bigger. For a lot of people, they keep scraps in sizes that they don't use, which means they don't use them. They just sit around. They take up space in the sewing room. So think about the quilts that you like to make. If you like to do string quilts, if you like to do 4 patches, if you like to do little teeny tiny things, or if you like to do pieces no smaller than this. Whatever it is, that's the size to keep. I know I have several clients that only keep charm packs, which are 5 inches or larger, in their scraps. Everything else they give away. There's absolutely nothing with giving it away because you're not going to use it anyway. So my tip for you this time is to take a couple of days maybe, look at the quilts you've made, look at the quilts you want to make, and ask yourself, is there anything common in the sizing? A lot of people have books for using fat quarters and they love to collect fat quarters. Then keep fat quarters. But don't keep little 1-inch squares if you're never going to put them together. So that's the tip for this week. It has been a month since I was here. The first Wednesday of the month of September, I did a video, and then I did another one either the next day or a couple of days later, because I knew I was not going to be here during the third Wednesday of the month, which is I usually do this live stream. So I wanted to make sure that I gave you the ending instructions for the block of the month. Well, today is our last block of the month, but for those of you who are here for the first time, here are the other 8. These blue patches you're seeing is on auditioning sashing. But these are the ones that we've been working on. Oh, I can't even see where you get. There we go. These are the ones that we've been working on. This was number 8, and so we're going to start number 9 this month. And then we will be done with our blocks, at which point we're going to use November to assemble and December to quilt. So we're getting close to the end. Because we're getting close to the end, I have posted on the community pages here on YouTube a survey. It's actually a link to a survey. I would really love it if all of you would take the survey, because I use the answers that you either give me on the survey directly, or if you want to send me an email rather than going through the survey, that's fine. Because I use those answers to help me pattern whatever it is we're going to do for the next year. So this block of the month is here because that's what you guys chose this year. Last year you chose a mystery quilt, and a year before that you did a 1-block quilt when we did twisted 4 patches. So I like to make sure that the main quilt that we work on here during the course of the year is something you guys want to do. Now obviously I can't satisfy everybody, but the more of you that vote, the more options, the more of a feel I'm going to get over what options you folks want the most. So please, please, please go and take the survey. Or, like I said, if you don't want to fill out the actual survey form, if you want to give me a more long-handed version of an answer, feel free to email me. Where do you email me? mail@StashBlasterQuilts.com. You can also go to my website, StashBlasterQuilts.com, and you can leave me comments there. You can also comment on this YouTube channel. So however you want to get me your decisions, please do so. The other stuff that I do, you're just kind of coming along for the ride. But at least the one quilt during the course of the year, I want you guys involved in. Okay, some other updates. My son and his bride-to-be have locked in their venue, so we know that the wedding is going to happen in February. And they have chosen not to have an album quilt, which means I will be designing and sewing their wedding quilt after the wedding. just to give myself some peace of mind and to take a few decisions off of their plate. So you guys are going to get to be able to watch me do that. I have no idea what it's going to be yet. I haven't talked about colors, patterns, style, size, anything. So that's all going to come to us later, okay? But I did tell you that this is something I've been wondering about because I hadn't gotten answers. Now I have some answers, so that's good. So over the last month, I have been on airplanes and at tables at vendor fairs, well, at conferences. So I have accomplished this month. For those of you who are new, the flowers were already done, but I assembled the pathways and attached them to the flowers for all of these flowers. My goal is normally to do one path or attaching a path to a flower per day. I have to say that I'm pretty pleased with myself. I've been way ahead of schedule. So I have even when my hands have hurt and I've taken off days, I've still been way ahead of schedule. So that feels really good. So I'm going to go ahead and add those flowers to the ones way up there and that whole row. This is the row that you're seeing here is approximately the width of a twin size bed. This quilt is going to be king size with a drop on 3 sides and a pillow tuck. So basically the equivalent of a 10-inch drop on all sides. So it takes 289 flowers. So that's a lot. There is, for each flower, there are 7 hexagons. And then for each path, there's 5. So that means for all of this, it's 289 times 5 plus the border at the top and the side worth of hexagons, which is a lot. This is all part of a 5,000 hexi challenge I've got going on. This is the 3rd or 4th quilt I've laid out to try to use them up. So we're getting there, but it's going to take some time. My original goal had been to have the top pieced by the end of next year. I believe that I will have all the flowers done by the end of this year, so I'll probably be done by June and potentially be quilting it at that point. How am I going to quilt it? Haven't decided that yet, because if I'm going to do it here on my domestic, I'm going to have to use a different method given its size than I've done on the quilts that I've done here. I don't really want to go and rent time on a machine, but I may have to do that. Or pay to have it quilted. So we'll see. But this is all going to be hand pieced, and that'll feel pretty good anyway. Is there a chance that I'll wind up having the kids say that this is what they want? Yeah. If so, then the sizing may change, or something else may change, or I may wind up giving them a quilt that took me 2 years to make. So, who knows? I'd rather they pick something else, but if this is something that she falls in love with when she comes upstairs and sees it on the design wall, then that's what they'll get. But anyway, oh, these are Swiffer boxes. Okay, thanks, Judy. So Swiffer boxes to hold the pieces. Okay. So, in the past, most of you have said that you like it when I show pictures from when I've been on a trip. So I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some photos of last year's mystery quilt. One of the guild members took photos yesterday of some little mini ones that they did. So I'm going to go ahead and show you those. And then at the end of that, I'm going to come back here because the last time I did this, I advanced the slides on my end, but they didn't advance for you guys. So this will be a great way for me to double check that before I go on to the trip photos. So, okay. Let's go ahead and do this. Now, I should be able to... Hold on one second. I need to go like this. And then I need to go like this. And hopefully you are looking at one of the disappearing hourglass blocks. Now, she didn't use just the one fabric, which is what we did as part of the mystery quilt. When we did this, we only used one focus fabric and the background, And the idea was that you didn't know that you were going to get these star points. So if you look up here in the upper left, you should see a star, right? What's interesting is that depending on your fabric choices, if you come over here to the right-hand side, you can't see a star. It hides in here. So when you're making your choices, keep that in mind, because otherwise you're going to have a problem getting the contrast that you want and being able to see the stars if that's your choice. If you don't care, that's fine, because with this design here in this right hand corner, you get more of a plus sign, so when they're put together you get a completely different appearing secondary effect. So this is page 1. This is the second one, and again you can see some of the stars more than you can others. Here's number 3. So you can tell she did really bright colors and a nice wide variety, whereas mine wasn't so much. I do like here that the lightest block is in the center. There's light in all of them, but because this is much lighter in general, it kind of looks like it's rising out around from the middle of all of these guys. So those are the ones that I wanted to show you with that. So let me go back to me. You should be seeing me now, but because of the way this stuff works, there we go. Did you see the slides advance? So Judy or somebody else, there's a couple of you on here. If you could just let me know, did you see the slides advance when I was showing them? And did you see the arrow circling when I was pointing things out? Great. There's like a 10-second delay, which is why I'm waiting for your answer. Thank you so much, Judy. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the trip that I was on. I went from here, I flew to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I attended a convention there, which was kind of a weird situation. And then I flew from there to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then I came home for another convention, and then I came home. So we ordered books to be delivered because I was going to have a table out there to sell my books. The first conference was for the National Adult Protective Services Association, and I was going to sell books. My therapist book, I told you about the therapy book cover taking so freaking long to get here. The books showed up the day before I was leaving. So I packed those, but I had arranged to ship the other ones to Albuquerque and to Minneapolis. So Amazon tells us, yep, we're fine. Then as it got closer, it wasn't going to show up until the day before. Then we got notice it wasn't showing up until the first day, sometime by 10 p.m. Now I have a table that I'm setting up, right? I want to sell books, but I don't have any to sell. I took one of each book with me just to be on the safe side in case something got lost in the luggage, or if there was a problem with them showing up, and there were problems. They sent the books, but they did not send them intelligently. So after the first day of conference, I got most of the books, all but 4. There were 10 in a little tiny box. And then there was this great big box. Now the big box would have held the entire order with the 30 books of the new books that I took with me. It was that big a box. But no, they packed the one box, then they packed the tiny box, and then they sent me 4 books, all individually, showing up over the next 3 days. I wasn't going to be there for 3 more days. Luckily, the last book did come in just before I left. It showed up the night before I was leaving to go to Minneapolis. But I have no idea why they sent the books individually. There was no reason. They were all ordered the same day, on the same order. There was room in the stinking box. But no. So that was kind of a fiasco. But Albuquerque itself was interesting. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. go. Back to the PowerPoint. There we go. So in the airport, they've started having these really weird vending machines, but I thought this was kind of cool. This was a Lego vending machine. So if you're traveling with kids and they are completely zoning out and just not interested, you can buy Lego sets in the mall, and it's 24/7. So I thought that was kind of cool. And both hotels had either little tiny rooms or these pods. So moms can go in and feed their babies, so you don't have to do it out in public, but you don't have to go in the smoking area or outside or stifle them under blankets with people looking down their noses at you. Just in the walk from the end of the one arm of where I landed in Chicago to the end of the other arm I had to go to, I must have seen at least 6 of these. And I think that this is a really nice addition in the airports, that there's little private rooms you can go into. So that was kind of cool. In the convention center where we were holding the NAPSA convention, there were these 2 brass statues. Apparently having these is just something they do in Albuquerque. That's one of the NAPSA name badges that he's wearing. But this is outside the convention center across from the hotel. And then this one, it was in front of my hotel. So they were just everywhere. When you would look around, you would see somebody, but it wasn't a real person. So that was kind of cool. They also have a lot of paintings on the walls. There's also a lot of street art where it's lower. You can tell that it's there and people have painted over other people's paintings. But some of these were just amazing. And some were in nice parts of town, and some were in not so nice parts of town. But you could tell that people were really enjoying expressing themselves this way. So you would drive down the street and see probably 10 or 15 of these. So why did I take a picture of a couch and chairs? I was so exhausted by the time I got to Albuquerque. I don't sleep the night before a trip, and I usually don't sleep well one or two nights before that. So I'm tired anyway. Had to leave my house at 4 in the morning to get to the airport on time. I don't sleep on planes. So by the time I got to Albuquerque, I was exhausted. And then the bed itself was super soft. It felt like I was trying to sleep in marshmallow foam. So I didn't sleep that night either. The couch and the chairs were right next to my table at the convention. So I was telling the people at the other tables that I thought that this was a rather cruel trick that they were pulling on me to tempt me to go to sleep and not man my table. Especially since I was by myself. If Scott was traveling with me, then I would have been in classes. But because he wasn't, I had to stay at the table. I did not sit on these chairs at any point because I was truly afraid I was going to fall asleep. But one thing we did the last night after the convention was over, I wasn't leaving until 6 a.m. the next morning. So, oops, sorry. Let me see. Those are the couches. Just in case I didn't show you the art, let me go back. Okay. So, let me go all the way back to here. That's the Lego machine. That's the lactation pod. Here are the statues. And here's the art. And the couch and chair. Okay, so on the last day, we took one of these trolleys up the mountain. There's 6 different temperate zones as you go up. I did not realize that we had this great tour guide in the cable car with us. And she was saying that Albuquerque is a mile up. Just like Denver, they just didn't have as good a PR department. But when you go up the mountain, it's another mile up. So you go through several different zones. So it starts with cacti and things like that. You go through the Colorado zone. You go through the main zone. So up at the very top, it's like deciduous trees and pine trees and stuff like that. Whereas at the bottom, it's all scrub and cacti. So this is what we rode up in. So as we were going, this is Albuquerque here on the left. It's just some beautiful landscape. This down here on the bottom left, by the way, I apologize, these are out of order because I just finished them before I switched this on. You go over two towers. This tower is at an 18-degree angle pointed downhill. And of course that's an engineering thing, but when she was saying, oh yes, it's pointed at 18 degrees facing Albuquerque, it's completely intentional because it's broken. And so, of course, everybody's laughing. So we had a great time. On the upper right here, this is actually a picture that they have in the cabin at the top. And you can see how red the stone is here. This is what it looks like for a good chunk of the year. The picture directly below it, these are those same still red shale cliffs. They're kind of pinky, but you can't really see the red, which is kind of a shame. But it was really interesting to see. And it's just gorgeous the whole way up. Just all the different landscaping and stuff that Mother Nature has done. When we got to the top, we got there just in time for the sunset. So the sunset's here. Once it was down, the temperature dropped about 20 degrees in 10 minutes. It got cold. So then we went back down and then back to the hotel. But it was just gorgeous. This is the sign in the bathroom, which I really liked. They had the usual ones, don't flush paper towels or sanitary. But this is the one that got me, was the goldfish money hopes or dreams. By the time I was there and we were done, it just struck my funny bone, so I thought I'd share. Oh, and that's that. So, I promised I wouldn't make them super huge anymore. So there you go. Alright. So now you're back to me. So anyway, so that was the Albuquerque trip. After that, in Minneapolis, I didn't get out to take photos much. I was out doing that stuff until 10 p.m. When we were in the bar trying to get dinner, but the 9 p.m. sorry, the kitchen had closed. I hadn't eaten all day, so by the time I ate and got to bed, and I was hanging out in the bar with friends, it was like midnight, and then I had to get up, out, and to the airport by 6. Not very bright. Flew to Minneapolis. I showed up at the hotel, and the other vendors had already set up their tables, and there were people there. So I put my suitcases on the tables, and I'm unpacking the books. But because I had the books that got shipped plus the books that I took, I spread them out amongst my luggage. So I'm opening up my big suitcase and I'm pulling out display stuff and books and all that, but there's my underwear and socks and pants and all this stuff. Luckily, it's almost all women that were there. They were all laughing and at my expense, but it was perfectly fine. I got everything unpacked. A friend of mine helped me take my stuff up to my room, and then I came back down. Spent the night with them, did the welcoming reception. So I was really super tired, so I did not hang out past the welcoming reception or very much into it. I went down, I had the meal. Well, yeah, it was a meal. And then just went upstairs and got unpacked enough to be able to, brush my teeth, that kind of stuff, and collapsed. And then the next 2 days was the conference. So I was there. We had all the events in one room, but our tables were just outside, so we could, they had a person there watching and stuff, so I could leave it set up, which was nice. In Albuquerque, at the end of every day, I had to pack everything up and take it all back to my hotel a block away. So it was pretty tough. And my knee was screaming, so I was hobbling with 2 suitcases in this hand, rolling it along, and my cane and clumping around. I looked pretty bad. So the last day, my knee was bad, but it wasn't as bad because I'd had a chance to sit more and move around a little bit more, so it wasn't as bad as at the other convention. And like I said, I didn't have to haul things up and down except at the end of the day. and it was in the same hotel. It was in an Embassy Suites. I love Embassy Suites because I like having the living room and then the bedroom, so that you don't get all the noise and all of that. So I did that convention. I had, issues with cab drivers and all kinds of other problems that happened, but overall it was fine. Could not wait to get home. They had the wrong phone number for me, and so when they delayed the flight 2.5 hours, I didn't know. And so that was an evening flight because I was supposed to take off at 8 or 8:10. So I left, early to get there and everything else. And while I'm standing there, she said, you do know your flight's been delayed? And I said, how long? She said 2.5 hours. I said, I didn't get any notices. Well, they checked. I had the wrong phone number, so I didn't get the text. I didn't check my email. That was on me. And the app had only just updated after I had left from my hotel. So, of course, I'm not going to check the app again. So I had plenty of time at the airport. I did that. I flew out on United, and I flew to Minneapolis on United, so I had to go through Chicago both times. My assistant got me a straight flight from Minneapolis back home to Dulles on Delta. And it sounded like the lawnmower that was powering the plane was tired. I wasn't super happy. But it is what it is. And yes, I still have the cough from COVID in January. Still not happy about it. Anyway, so I got in. I was supposed to get in at close to midnight. We got in a little bit earlier, but I still wasn't home until 3:30 in the morning. Crawled into bed, and then woke up as usual at 5. So I was pretty much a zombie. A lot of this trip I was a zombie. The first day when I got into Minneapolis, people were asking me questions and talking to me about classes they wanted me to teach, both for the association and then for other organizations they belonged to. And I had to go back to them the next day and say, I'm sorry, the one brain cell that I still had was giving itself a concussion as it slammed around inside my head. Can you tell me what we were talking about? I know I talked to you about this summit, but I don't remember what classes we talked about. But luckily, these are people I've known for years, so they just laughed and we moved on and we got it taken care of. But, yeah, these long flights all alone, especially now that I'm carrying books and display equipment and all of that, I think that from now on I am going to not ship directly from Amazon to my locations, because the books that I sent to Minneapolis were there, so that was good. But then I dragged them all home. I think that what I'm probably going to do next time is have the books here, pay the additional money, and ship all my display stuff and all the books to the locations so that I can track and know when they left and when they're getting there. And that way I'll be prepared. I'll still take the one of each book kind of thing with me, but since I had the roller bag with all the display stuff and then the backpack with my stuff I really needed, like my PowerPoints and computer and that kind of stuff, it got to be a bit much. So I think I'm gonna have to change it for next year. If I get everything that I've applied for next year, I'm going to have somewhere between 5 and 15 conventions I'm going to go to. So, 5 of them, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go whether I'm speaking or not. The other ones will depend on whether I'm a speaker. So, I'm preparing for those and I'm putting in my submissions. But overall, I think I'm pretty much done for the year. I think there's one more thing that could possibly come in, but it's not a big deal and it's local. I will be speaking at a local community center I'm doing 2 in October and 1 in November. The ones in October are already booked. The one in November is downsizing and decluttering. It's the McLean Community Center. So if you'd like to go, you're welcome to. But you'll want to get tickets early. I know they've already sold 16 tickets. I don't know which room they're going to put me in. Some of the rooms wouldn't hold 16. So hopefully they're going to put me in the auditorium, which should fit about 100. But I don't know if that's where they're going to have me. So if you're interested, it's in November, and you can find it on the McLean Community Center calendar of events, downsizing and decluttering. So just so you're aware of that. Okay, so I haven't told you about this month's block, have I? No, I haven't. Let me get Judy's stuff here out of the way. I just told you that there was one. This is called Lou's Star. It is similar to last month, but we have inset squares in the corners and these triangles. Now, the instructions haven't been posted yet, but they will be. If you do not want to do Y seams, and there's not that many, there's 8 total, but if you're not comfortable and you don't want to do them, you could increase the size of the various pieces and sew them into 8 like we did the star last month. Okay? So actually let me get this up here. So last month was this one right here. So this is similar. Oops. Here we go. I changed camera so now I can't keep track of stuff. Okay? So you could do it the same method if you're not comfortable with the Y seams or you're not willing to try them. But they're not hard. They really aren't. They just, people get scared. And you don't need to be. It's not that tough. So the instructions are going to be posted, but this is our next block. So today I'd like to talk to you about preparing the yellow ones, these ones, and these ones. And so once you get those done, then in 2 weeks when we have our regular sit and sew, we'll assemble those pieces into the final blocks. Okay? All right. So this is the one where last month I said you cut some one direction, some the other direction. This is the block you have to do that for. The other one isn't exactly the same. But this one you do have to cut one way or the other. So let's get into that. Alright, I am going to pull up on my computer the instructions so that if you look at this later, it'll be in the same order. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do the strip set. Okay, so that's going to be your 2 yellow stripes here. Okay? This is exactly like last month when we were cutting the 45-degree angles, but I am going to go ahead and do it for you again this time. Now I am using different colors, so we've got some better contrast here. One of the questions that I have on the survey is whether that is confusing versus if I were to do another block in the same colors so that it would be a match for you, but not doing it today. Alright, so I'm going to be using red and white. So let me angle this. I try to angle the camera before I move it so that I don't make anybody seasick. Okay, so you're going to sew your 2 strips together, your light and your yellow. I mean your light and your medium. Okay, that's these right here. So this is your strip set, just these 2. Okay, just these 2. So what we want to do is we want to get a 45-degree angle here. Now, some of my rulers are not this, they're not squares, they're rectangles. So my 45-degree angle goes off on my ruler. So what I could do is I could, in this case, let's say, I'm going to put it this way so it makes a little bit more sense. I could just line this up with the 45-degree angle on my seam and cut because it's a nice clean edge here. But most of us are going to be using squares. And obviously, if I set this on here, I don't have a straight edge here. I've got this notch, right? So there's a couple of options. In this particular case, what I would do is take one and put the 45 on my strip like that, and then just take another ruler, butt it up against the first one, like so. Move the one away, and then cut. I need a new blade for this rotary cutter. So that gives me my 45-degree angle. Okay? All of these are 45s. The only question is are they going with the red stripe away, are they going upper left to lower right, or upper right to lower left? Upper left to lower right, upper right to lower left. Okay, so I need 4 in each direction, cut at 4 3/4 inches. Okay? Now, in this particular case, all I need to do is, once I have my 45-degree angle, I can just go ahead and cut at 4 3/4. Now, 4 1/2 will work. Okay? I originally did this at 4 1/2, but my square wound up being slightly smaller than I had intended. If you are going to consistently sew the scant 1/4 inch, then you're fine. I'm doing this one a little bit bigger. It's up to you. I prefer to do it this way because I can always trim it down to what I need, but some people don't want to cut things once they've gotten them put together, so it's completely up to you. But if you're going to do 4 1/2, make sure it's a scant 1/4 inch, which means a thread or 2 short of the 1/4 inch. Otherwise, it's not all going to fit together and give you a 12 1/2 inch finished square. Okay? So, you're going to cut 4 from this direction. You're going to cut 4 in this direction. And then you're going to cut 4 going the other way. And that's going to give you the 8 that you need here. Okay? So that's this one here. I cut that wrong. I cut that wrong. I apologize. Did I misread here? Yes, I did. It's a 4 1/4 inch segment on a 45-degree angle. There are going to be points that hang off, so I was reading the wrong section. I apologize. It is correct on the handout. It's 4 1/4, not 4 3/4. Okay. I knew that was off when I looked at it against the other one. All right, so let's do 4 1/4. If this is your first time here, this will not be the first mistake that you watch and you get to see corrected. I have never claimed to be flawless, and if you're one of my friends, you are probably laughing so hard that you've fallen off your chair. So, I'll have 4 that go this direction, and then I'll have 4 that go the opposite direction. Okay? And I will cut these in a little bit, because we only have 20 minutes left. Okay, so next is going to be the triangle inserts. So it calls for 4 2 1/2 inch squares of your light background and 4 2 3/4 inch squares cut in half on your diagonal. Okay? And so then what you're going to do is you're going to, let me switch this around so you can see better. Okay. Oh, not bad for a first shot. Okay, moving you a little bit here so that you're right side up. Okay, so this is the block that we want. On this block, it's right here. Okay. So, you're going to take the square and here's the first triangle, and I sewed down the side here, and then I pressed it to the triangle side like this. And now what I'm going to do, because this is this side right here, I want the other one to end like this. So then I just take this and I flip it back this way. And now I'm going to sew this let me get it down here where you can see better. I do have a leader in here. If you haven't used leaders and unenders, you might want to consider that. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead. I'm just sewing my 1/4 inch seam. Now, when you get to the points, they tend to want to wiggle. You can use a stiletto, you can use a screwdriver. This is actually a cocktail fork that was part of a set. It came with this little barrel and you would put these in there if you were entertaining. But it's really handy to hold these points down. So I have appropriated them and I use them for myself. And you're going to go right into the notch right here, because that's where they all line up. Okay? Hopefully you can see that. Let me get you in a little closer. Okay, so my thread comes off the seam, and then here is the notch in my background fabric. Okay, so you're going to come straight across. That tells you that you got it correct in how you sewed it. So, all right. Everything has all gone kerflooey because when I was gone, I packed a bunch of my stuff in here for travel, and so it's not where it's supposed to be. Okay, let's go back to me. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, warm it, open it, press it, and then I'll have 4 of these triangles that are going to get inset between my colored strips. In my case red, in your case yellow. The last thing to talk about today are the half square triangles. So, many of you have done a million of these, but we're going to talk about them anyway, just in case it's your first time here. So, you're going to take the 2 squares, the 4 3/4 inch squares, and on the lightest fabric, you're going to draw a diagonal line. Okay? Then you sew on each side of the line 1/4 inch away from the line. So, at this point, all you need to do is cut right on your sewn line. Now, what happens if you don't cut perfectly? It doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? Because you've already sewn the seam. So you've already got that 1/4 inch that we are always striving for in our sewing. You've already put it in place. If your cutting goes like this, it doesn't matter. I have one friend where she'll sew a bunch of these, and then she lets her little granddaughter cut them apart. So as long as you don't cut through the stitch line, you're perfectly fine. So her granddaughter's a little wobbly. That doesn't matter. You've already sewn it, so you're good. Okay? So then this gets pressed, I believe I said to the light side. I did. In my sample, I sewed it the wrong, I pressed it the wrong way, but if you press it to the light side, things fit together a little better. It's the only reason. Okay? So, at this point, we'll have our 8 strips sets. We will have our 4 triangle sets, triangle insets, I should say, and then we'll have our 4 half square triangles. And once those are done, the block is ready to assemble. Okay, so hopefully that all made sense. If at any time in one of these lives I've given an instruction that you haven't understood, email me at mail@StashBlasterQuilts.com, leave a comment, whatever. If you email me, it tends to work better, but that's completely up to you. But with that email, I will know that in 2 weeks when I come back that I need to recover something before we move forward. Because next time I'm going to have already assembled parts, just like today I already had the all but the last triangle inset piece done. I will have already pre-assembled some of this, but if I know that there's been an issue with something I said or how I did it, I'll know to go back, and I'll just make extra pieces for whatever cutting or whatever I need to do. So please let me know. It's the best thing for this to work. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, no new chat things. All right, great. So that is our block of the month. Let me make sure what else I need to do. Okay, so anyway, Debbie Watson is the one that did the quilts that you saw earlier today. So I just want to make sure that she gets the props for that. We have the quilt is going well, like we talked about. I had somebody issue me a challenge. I did not put this on the survey, so feel free to drop me a line and let me know what you think. She wanted to know if I wasn't doing any commission quilts, how many quilts could I make in the course of a year, in the course of a month, even doing my working that I need to do. I am considering that. I think it would be a fun challenge to see how many of my StashBlaster quilts I could knock out, but I don't know if that's of interest to any of you. So if you would like to see, then something I would do during that month is when I was sewing, not all the time, because I like doing some sewing at like 3 in the morning, and that I'm not really dressed to be seen by people. But some of those times that I would be sewing, I would put it on the live stream so you guys could join me. And you'd be able to see what I'm doing and how it's coming along and all of that. So if you are interested, if you think that that would be a fun thing to do, please let me know. Like I said, I didn't put it in the survey because that was all about next year's quilts. There were some questions in general about running the channel, but that's not one that I thought to put on the survey. So if you think that that would be of interest, or if it's of interest to you, drop me a note, let me know. And I think that that could be fun. As of right now, we would be looking at January, most likely, because I'm not taking any commission quilts until after the wedding. I'm going to finish up the ones I'm doing now, so all my commissions will be done. And I'm not starting their wedding quilt until after the wedding. So I've got January and February. But of course in February, mid-month is the wedding. That may impinge on January as well, but I'm not sure how much. So if I'm going to do this, January is probably the month. I'll still need to be doing whatever it is we're doing for our annual quilt, but it should give you an idea of kind of how I crank things out. It'll probably be a situation where I'll have the sound on, so those of you who like to listen to sewing machines can hear it, but I will be instead doing like headphones on or something like that, so I can listen to a book on tape or music or something without you guys having to hear it. Coming in the middle of a book would be annoying, and sometimes if there's something in the book that's not appropriate for all ages, I don't want that going across. I also don't want any questions of copyright infringement if I had somebody's music playing. So given all of that, you'll probably be sitting watching me with headphones on, but I think it would be kind of fun. So thank you, Judy. Thank you for the vote. There's only 3 of you on right now, so I know that there's a lot more of you who watch this later. So please go ahead and shoot me the note. I'm in the YouTube studio just so I can tell you this. So for example, while I'm talking right now, and it's several minutes later than what I'm looking at coming across the broadcast, because on the broadcast I'm still cutting the strip sets, but with me talking I am done, and I've been done for a couple of minutes here, so I'm not really sure how far behind they delay. It's just kind of weird. Okay, I love to listen to books on tape. I tend to listen to science fiction fantasy. Honestly, though, this is embarrassing, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I told you guys, as long as my husband doesn't blush, I'll share practically anything. I have been wanting just pure escapism, so I've been listening to werewolf stories. I've got several boxed sets that I got on the Audible free library, so I've been listening to a bunch of that kind of stuff. Actually, the one I'm currently listening to in my car, I can't think of the name of it. Give me just a second. It's really kind of interesting because they're taking fairy tales and they are redoing them differently and for adults. So let me get the name of that. I'm currently listening to the Four Kingdoms boxed set. I'm listening to box set 1. So we've done The Princess and the Pea, and we've done Little Red Riding Hood. Other than that, it has nothing to do with the story. I mean, it's got this little tiny piece, but they're all new stories, so that's really kind of cool. I also listen to a lot of like Nora Roberts, but I wait because she always writes in trilogies, so I wait until I have 3 credits built up, and then I will buy all 3, and then I can listen to them in a row without having to wait for one. I like Hercule Poirot as well. Sometimes I listen to things like Pride and Prejudice. Sometimes, I mean, it's everything, but it's usually science fiction fantasy for the most part. It works for me. It's pure escapism. That's really the only reason for it. But yeah. I know that a lot of people, they'll close your account if you play music that you don't have the copyright to, or if there's like a movie in the background and they can hear it, you can lose your account altogether. Now, admittedly, there's 53 of you right now. Hopefully by the time other people watch this, there'll be 15,000. 5.3 million. Alright, it'll never be in the millions. But given that, I don't want this to be something that I lose, just even those of you that I currently have. So I'm really careful about things like copyright. It's 5 minutes of. So just as a quick recap, if this is your first time here, thanks for sticking it out. You can find all of the patterns for the squares, and I will try to get those on the camera again. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. So those are the other 8 squares. You can find all of these on my website. So what you do is you go to StashBlasterQuilts.com right here. There's an annual quilts tab. You click on that, and that'll take you to the different years. You can get last year's mystery quilt, and you can get all of the blocks from this year in those folders. There is a 2025 folder right now, and that's where the information on the survey is as well. But getting it here on the community tab is probably quicker and easier. So anyway, so if you would like to do this quilt, you are more than welcome to go and take those patterns. Next month is going to be, I'm going to put in sashing in mine, and getting it all finished, the whole top finished, and then in December it'll be quilted and bound. And then January we'll start something new. So again, you new folks, StashBlasterQuilts.com, and then take the survey. Everybody, please take the survey if you can, and that will give us that opportunity to get something that most people are going to want to see. That's it. That's all I've got for you today. We're going to end a couple of minutes early, but thank you so much for coming. I truly appreciate it. If this is your first time here, again, welcome. Please feel free to subscribe, hit the bell so you get the notifications. I do start these about 15 minutes in advance so that you'll get the notification on your phone that I've started, but that gives you time to get through the restroom, grab something to drink, settle in, and then we get started. So we always start on time, and I try to end on time each time. If I do this month of sewing thing, it's going to be random. It's going to start at random times. It's going to end at random times. There's no way to know. So you're kind of along for a roller coaster ride if we go ahead and we do that. But that's all that's going on with that. So everybody have a wonderful couple of weeks. I will see you here 2 weeks from tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern Time, and we will get this top knocked out. Okay? Oh, no. Sorry. In 2 weeks, we're going to finish the block for you. And then we'll do the top next month. Okay? Thank you so much. Have a wonderful 2 weeks, and I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.